Hey boys and girls, today we are going to multiply decimals times decimals using some number sense strategies to estimate. But I'm going to start out by just showing you a couple of models. And you probably remember us doing this a couple of months ago in the classroom. This is a model of 6/10 times 2/10. The main thing I want you to realize is that back when we did multiplication in third grade and we multiplied 6 times 2, when you multiply, the number becomes much larger. 6 times 2 is 12. But when you multiply decimals, the opposite happens. You have 6/10 times 2/10. The product or the answer, it's cut into more pieces. And so it actually becomes a smaller number. And so the opposite happens with decimals. A decimal times a decimal equals an even smaller decimal. So as represented in this model, we have 6/10 in a horizontal fashion. There's 6 shaded in blue lines out of a total of 10, so that equals 6/10. And then vertical, you're going to see 2 yellow lines out of a total of 10 vertical lines, so 2/10. That represents 2/10. So 6/10 times 2/10. The answer is going to be the overlapping area. And so it's smaller than both of those factors. And the answer will be 12 hundredths. 12 hundredths. So 6/10, I'm going to come over here. 6/10 times 2/10 is equal to 12 hundredths. And if you look back at this model, this overlapping area here, it's kind of this is blue, this is yellow, it overlaps to be more of a green. There's going to be 12 colored in out of 100, which is 12 hundredths. Again, we had 6/10, 6 lines out of blue, six blue lines out of 10, shaded in 6/10, 2/10, 2 yellow lines out of 10, shaded in the opposite way. And the overlapping area of 6/10 times 2/10 is 12 hundredths. But the thing to recognize here is 6/10 times 2/10. Looking at both of these factors, the answer becomes smaller than both of them. 12 hundredths is smaller than 6/10. 12 hundredths is smaller than 2/10. Let's do one more with the model. Here is 2/10, and this time the 2/10 is going to be blue horizontal, 2 rows of 10, 2 rows shaded in out of a total of 10 rows. And then the other way, 8/10, that shows our vertical yellow. So 2/10 times 8/10 equals, what's the overlapping area? 16 hundredths. So I will write that here. 2/10 times 8/10 equals 16 hundredths. And again, this product is smaller than both of the factors. So if we look here, and this is going to help us with estimation of products, we have 8/10 times 7/10. So would the product be 5.6? That would be greater than both factors. So I could eliminate A. Now, is 56 hundredths less than 8/10 and 7/10? That could be my product. What about 56? That is greater, and I know it needs to be less than both my products. And if I go back to what I did up here, 8/10 times 7/10 equals 56 hundredths. And we can also move the decimal one place, move the decimal one place. So therefore, in the product, you move the decimal 2 places to the left. So again, we're looking at estimation. So here, look at this one. We have 5/10 times 3/10. Again, your product, when you take a decimal times a decimal, the answer is going to be an even smaller number than both the factors. Is 15 smaller than both the factors? No. Is 1.5 smaller than both the factors? No. What about 15 hundredths? That actually, 15 hundredths? Yes. 5 times 3 is 15. And of course, you move the decimal 1, 2 places to the left, which is 15 hundredths. I have one more to do. 8 tenths times 4 tenths. And you can also visualize that overlapping feature on the hundredths chart that I showed you. Okay, so here's 8 tenths times 4 tenths. These A and B are both smaller, so I'm going to kind of come back and look at those two closer because they're both smaller. I know the product needs to be smaller. When you take a decimal times a decimal, the product needs to be smaller than both factors, and these two factors are larger. So I know C and D, I can eliminate those two. So now let me look closely here. All right, if I take 8 times 4, it looks like I've moved the decimal places a total of 2 spaces. 8 times 4 is 32. These are both less than the two factors, but the best answer, of course, is 32 hundredths because 1, 2, 1, 2 decimal places to the left. Decimal placement is very key in understanding multiplication of decimals. All right. Thank you. Bye.